Benvenuto! Welcome to Cherry Hill Home Cooking. My name is Mark. Today we're going to be making a recipe that's going to help me get rid of a couple of overripe bananas that I had. They don't have to be this ripe. They're probably a little bit too overripe, but they're going to be good. So what we're going to make today is a banana pudding cream cheese cake. I haven't made this recipe. Like I said, I had a couple leftover bananas and I wanted to use them up. So I looked through my stack of recipes that I've printed out and have never made over the years. And I thought, that sounds good. So that's what we're going to try to make today. Okay, so for today's recipe we're going to need a couple overripe bananas. We need room temperature unsalted butter and room temperature cream cheese. Again, you're going to have all the measurements in the recipe. We need some pure vanilla extract. We need 6 eggs at room temperature. We need a package of, or a box of banana cream instant pudding. Of course, we're going to need some flour, all-purpose flour. This recipe calls for baking soda and baking powder. And of course, we need some white cane sugar. And we need a bundt pan. You can use a fancier bundt pan, one with a nice grooves in it and nice design. I decided to use this one because it's a nice flat surface all around it on the top, and I thought we'd get a nice glaze on it. Like I said, I haven't made this, so I'm not quite sure how it would come out in a loaf pan or in a cake pan, but we're going to try it with this, and if you'd like, experiment. And then we need some heavy cream. And we need confectionery sugar. That's going to be for our glaze. And I'm sure I'll say this when the time comes, but this is going to be a relatively thick glaze. You want this to be a thick glaze. So you want to make sure that your cake is completely cooled before you glaze it. And that's another interesting thing I'll say. I'll talk a little bit about it more, but this is a pretty big cake from what it looks like and looking at all the ingredients. It actually cooks at a very low temperature. So I've already got my oven preheating to 325. So that's kind of a relatively low temperature for baking, but it bakes for a long time. According to the recipe I have, it's going to bake for about 1 hour and 35 minutes. So it seems like it's a nice, dense, pound cake type cake with a slow bake at a low temperature. Okay, let's get baking. Okay guys, in the mixer, I've got my sugar, which this recipe calls for 3 cups of sugar, 3 sticks of unsalted butter, and 1 8-ounce cream cheese. Now we want to get this thoroughly creamed together, and that's going to take a good 5 minutes, all right? So we're going to get this going first, and let's get it on low for a few seconds till we start to incorporate that butter in there into the sugar. It's going pretty good. And we'll scrape the sides down and stuff too in a minute. Just going to get that all mixed in and then turn it back down to low. All right, so that's really going to take a good 5 minutes for that all to get nice and creamy. All right, in the meantime, we've done this many times, but we'll go over preparing our pan for baking. All right, I've got a little bit of vegetable shortening in there, all right, on the bottom, and I'm just going to go around, make sure I get in the little creases around the corner. Can you see that? Nothing exciting. And up the sides, this cake looks like it raises pretty good. And of course, in a bun pan, you want to make sure you get the cylinder in the middle greased. And of course the bottom. I think I need a little bit more shortening. And again, we want to make sure we get the cylinder and the bottom, and I think that's good. All right, before we move on to flouring, I'm just going to grab a spatula. We'll give that a scrape down. Make sure you get the bottom out. That is looking really good and smelling delicious. So the more, you know, the more room temperature your butter and cream cheese is, the faster that's going to cream as well. And mine was pretty soft. But, so that will be done in about a minute. We're just at about 3 minutes now, so I'm going to give it close to I'd say 3 minutes. All right, so then the next thing on our pan, we want to get some flour in there. Take a good heaping teaspoon of flour and get that all as good as you can around the sides and up as far as you can, because again, this cake, I have a feeling, is going to be a pretty high rising cake. And then it's always hard to get the cone on a bundt pan. Yeah, that's the trick. One of the worst things about working flour is getting it all over the place. I think that's why I don't make more bread. All right, then you want to, you know, get this over to your sink and give it a couple bangs. Get as much of it out as you can. And there you go, a prepared cake pan. Okay, so that is coming up on just about 5 minutes. Yep, I would say that's really close. And again, I'm just trying to show you, it's hard to show you what it would look like, but it's very creamy. I mean, you want it well creamed, so that means you want your butter well mixed in with the sugars, and the sugars dissolved into your butter. To me, that looks like nice creamy butter to me. Oh, it's nicely creamed. All right, so then the next step in this recipe is to add the eggs. And it says we want to add them slowly. All right, incorporate them in slowly, one at a time. And it says just till they break and it starts to incorporate. This is one of those recipes that is going to be mixing around a lot in the mixer, so you want to try not to dry it out or make the final product toughen if we overmix it, because we still got the flour to mix in. It could have the possibility, get over there, of getting tough, or tough I think is the best word. So you can see I just wait till the yolk breaks, and then it's going to start to incorporate into the batter. You can see it's the yolk is broke. No more yellows or big streaks of yellow sticking out. We'll go on to our next one. And you'll notice your batter's starting to get a little bit thinner, of course. And I think we can add these last two in at once. And let's get those mixed. Okay, so that's about where you want it to be. I'm going to shut this off. We're going to just kind of leave this here for a side. I'm going to go back and get the rest of our ingredients together, and I'll be back and finish up the recipe. Okay, so this recipe calls for the flour to be sifted, all right? We've probably gone over this before. You probably know yourself. You've seen it in countless other videos that you've watched about baking. Baking is, all about precision. And when you're following a baking recipe, you got to follow the rules of the recipe, or it's not going to come out right. But when you're baking a cake or anything like that, you don't want to just, cram your measuring cup in and get out your flour, because then you're going to pack the flour and you're going to end up with too much flour, and you're going to get a dry cake, or it's not going to rise the way that it should. So anyway, one of the ways that have worked for me, oops, on the counter again. So I just take a teaspoon and kind of just put your flour in. You're measuring whatever size you need. Just lightly drop it in, and you want to overfill it. All right, and then take the edge of a butter knife and just scrape it off and throw it in. I did mention salt. It did not mention salt in the ingredients, but you do need a half teaspoon of salt in this recipe. So I've got salt, baking powder, and baking soda. Throw that in there in our sifter. And then we just sift away. Okay, so we've got all of our butter, all of our flour, sugar, and baking powder in there. Now, we also have to incorporate our instant cream banana pudding mixture as well. So we have our flour, got that, and yes, the bananas. We've done this before. There's no trick to this, how you mash your bananas. I've taken the skins off the bananas, and you just want to give them a right good mashing. And you want to, like I said, mash them up pretty good. They smell delicious. Nothing to it. Got all the big lumps out. Okay, I'm going to clean up this little mess that we've made, and then we'll come back and we'll incorporate our dry ingredients into our wet ingredients. Okay, we got all of our dry ingredients in here. We've got our flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt, and I also put the package of banana cream pudding in there as well. So we're going to gradually, we want to incorporate this all gradually. I'm going to throw our vanilla in. That's 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. We'll give that a little bit of a mix. And then we want to start to incorporate our dry ingredients slowly. Dry and wet because we have the banana too. Let that work in. I'll put a little bit of our banana in. And I'd say you probably want to let it go 30 seconds in between each addition. And of course it goes without saying, you want to scrape your bowl down once in a while. Make sure you got everything going in there. Alright, so we'll put another of our dry. Put a little bit of banana. We'll spill some on our bowl. And we'll give that a turn. Now, while as riveting as it is watching me do this, you got the gist, I'm sure. We'll be back when it's all incorporated. Okay, we've got all of our dry ingredients mixed in with our wet ingredients, and as you guys can tell, there's a lot of batter here. This is going to make a big cake. All right, so that was about my minute, but just about a minute. I let it go. My last batch of it, my last bit of dry ingredients I put in. I can't think of the word I want. Last portion of dry ingredients. Just want to make sure that it got nicely mixed. So, again, as I've always told you guys, always unplug your mixer before you take your beater off. Today when I was putting this together, I did, my fear was realized. I plugged the beater in, and I had already put the mixer on, and the power was on. But thank God the beater was already in the mixer. Anyway, of course, never go like that on your glass bowl, or else you're going to have a broken glass bowl, and even the worst part is you're not going to be able to use your mix. All right, so I'm going to give this one last scrape down. Make sure we got all of that in there. It's a nice soft batter. It's not really too thick or too runny. All right, let's start to get this humongous amount of batter in our pan. And of course it will spread out on its own, but kind of be help it along. You want to make sure you scrape out all that goodness. Don't leave any in your bowl. Or on the side of the pan like I did. Take that off because otherwise it's going to burn. Okay. Like I said, that's a nice, very thick batter. All right, and then spread it out. Take it off the side there. Looks good. I'm just going to wipe that off here because it will start to burn. All right, now, a little bang, even it out, get any big bubbles out. Okay, now, like I said, this cooks on a low oven at 325 for about an hour and a half. Of course, you want to keep an eye on it. If you notice it starts to brown too fast. Anyway, I can't tell you what to do in case it does because we haven't made this cake yet, but I don't think it's going to be. It's going to be perfect. All right, so 350-degree oven, middle rack. Keep an eye on it. I'm going to come back and check it in about 45 minutes, and then I'll check it again at an hour and at least at an hour and 15 minutes. All right, so middle rack. Put our big, gigantic, delicious baby in there and hope he cooks into a beautiful, bouncing banana pudding cream cake. Anyway, I forgot what it's called. We'll see you when it's done. Okay, guys, we're back. It's been 1 hour and 29 minutes. I checked it at about an hour 10, and I thought it was browning a little quickly. So I put a piece of tinfoil on it. So we're almost right at our hour and 30-minute mark. Let's take it out and see how we're doing. It smells delicious. It rised very nicely. Let's check and see what we're doing. So like I said, I thought it was getting a little too brown, so I put some tinfoil on top of it. So we're going to take a nice dry toothpick, put it down through the center, and I would say that's about comes out clean. Yep, looks pretty good to me. It's got a little spring back to it. It has pulled away from the side. I think it's done. All right, we're going to give this about 10 minutes to cool in the pan, and we'll be back and we'll turn it out. Okay, we've been letting it cool for 10 minutes. I'm going to take a knife and just kind of run it along the sides, make sure we got any crusty bits out of there. And in the middle, I think that's going to be okay, but that's hot. All right, here comes the moment of truth. Is it going to come out? If we fade to black, it didn't come out. melt it. Okay, so look at that. Okay, I'm gonna say that looks pretty good. A little bit of separation on the side there, but that's good. All right, as I said, this really needs to be thoroughly cooled. So we're gonna let this cool overnight, and tomorrow we will glaze it and eat it. See you all tomorrow. Bye. All right, so here's our cake. It has completely cooled overnight. Our banana pudding cream cheese cake, that is, of course. Okay, and we're gonna make a quick and really simple glaze for this cake. This is kind of a basic glaze. We've got a cup of confectionery sugar, and I've got 2/3 of a cup of heavy cream. And we're just gonna incorporate these together. Now, if you wanted to cut a bit down on the calories, you could do light cream. You could do half and half. You could even do milk. But because it's the first time I've made this cake, and we want it to come out as yummy as possible, I'm going to go all out. All right, so again, that could not be easy. That is just kind of a basic, any sweet glaze that you could make for any cake, any muffins or anything like that. Just want to keep stirring it, get out your lumps. And of course, you can make this as thick or as thin as you want. If you want it a little thinner, add a little bit more cream. If you want it a little thicker, add some more confectionery sugar. And I think this is good for this cake. Looks pretty smooth to me. Perfect. Okay, so the way I'm going to do this is I'd like to try to get a nice kind of all over the top and then drizzle over the side. So I'm going to try it like this. I'm going to get covered first, and then I'll put some more on the sides, and it will hopefully drizzle down a little better. Of course, you can do this any way you'd like. Yeah, maybe I could have gone a little lighter, a little thinner on it, but anyway, you guys get the gist. It's not going to drizzle down the sides for me no matter what. That's okay. I still think it looks beautiful. If anyone else has ever seen me do any kind of baking, you know that how often I've said decorating is not my strong point. So if I want to drizzle, we'll give it a hand. What do you think, hon? Does it look good? Right?
Yeah, looks good.
It will taste good. Will this side over down here? Oh. Well, we're certainly going to have enough frosting for this. It tastes delicious. All right, I'm going to call that done. Oh, it's yummy. And we're going to come back and have a nice cup of tea and a nice piece of cake. See you in a little bit. Okay, so we're going to have some tea and have our cake that we made.
Smells delicious.
Yeah, it does smell good, hopefully. Tastes as good as it smells.
Haven't had tea in a while, thank you.
I know, we haven't had tea in, well, fresh brewed tea anyway. We're having some Earl Grey tea. I like milk in mine. You don't want any milk, right?
Nope.
Okay, dig it. See what it tastes like. Tea's delicious.
Good.
Is it good?
That's good.
And remember, guys, I haven't made this. This was a recipe I've had kind of sitting around. Haven't tried it. It looks good. It came out nice. Got a beautiful crust to it.
That's really good.
That's delicious. I mean, it tastes a little bit like banana bread, but it's got a cakey texture to it. That's delicious.
Especially with the icing, it's delicious.
I think this is my new go-to banana cake.
Came out good.
Yeah, very good. Definitely try it. The icing is good. Well, that wraps up today's video. I hope that you've enjoyed watching us making this video as much as we've enjoyed making it. More importantly, I hope you try it, because I think you'll all be very happy with the way that it turns out. It's delicious.
It is.
And that's all I got to say.
Me too. Besides, please like us, subscribe, and check us out on cherryhillhomecooking.com.
Ciao.
Bye.
This is delicious.
It came out very well. Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so moist.
Bananas really come through too.
I know, considering, well, there is that, even though it's only 2 bananas, there's that banana pudding, so.